Welcome to One Way Sports. My name is P-Way. In 4 weeks, the first quarter of the NFL season is officially behind us. Lots to talk about from a busy Sunday of NFL football. Couple of unbeaten teams left, couple of statement performances. We saw some backup quarterbacks yesterday, lots of big plays being made, statement wins by other teams, and then some injuries that occurred that we need to get to today. But it's a usual Monday podcast. You know what's coming up. We're going to recap every single game. Monday Night Football just wrapped up, so I'm recording this right after Bills and Ravens. We'll go through every single game. We'll react to all of them. And then we will do some Overreaction Monday, and then we'll recap P-Way's parlay on the way out. You guys know what it is. It's a Monday post-NFL, and we will get to all of the games and recaps. And that all starts right now on episode 12 of One Way Sports. Well, that was an incredible day of Sunday football once again. It's starting to feel like we're hitting that point of the NFL season now where these teams really know who they are. Some offenses are really starting to click. Some teams are starting to come into shape, and we're starting to learn more and more each week about all of these teams. What a great Sunday. Good morning slate. Afternoon slate was, all right. And then we kind of got disappointed a little bit with the Sunday night football game this week in terms of competitiveness. But the Ravens do make a statement. A couple of teams are in deep trouble. Some really bad performances yesterday, and then some rookie standouts and some quarterback play that I want to touch on here coming up on the NFL review. And we're going to start first game I want to talk about on a Monday morning is Steelers and Colts. So Colts win 27-24. If you watched the podcast on Friday, I didn't understand how the Steelers were 1.5 point favorites. And on the way out, I said that's probably exactly why the Colts will win. And they did. They came into, or they defended home turf and get back to 2-2, a win they absolutely needed to have, in my opinion, with the Texans, who we'll get to later. It does come at a cost, though, as Anthony Richardson got hurt in this game. But we saw the return of Joey Flacco. I can't do it like Stavi can, but my goodness, Joe Flacco is back on an NFL field, and he has now he's now thrown 2 touchdown passes in 7 straight starts. That's Joe Flacco football for you. He was airing it out. I believe I saw a quote after the game. It's not a word for word quote, but he basically just said, what was your thought process once you get in there? He just said, if the guy's open, throw it to him. He said a lot of these guys make things complicated and think a lot. I'm a simple guy. If he's open, throw it to him. And that's Joe Flacco football right there for you. He came in of relief after Anthony Richardson got hurt in the first quarter, but Richardson marched them right down the field to start the game. They go 8 plays, 70 yards in 3 minutes. Jonathan Taylor caps that thing off with a touchdown. And the number 1 defense in the NFL, was just reeling to start the game. And that's when I knew. I was like, 1.5. Like this is probably dead. Because you just don't see a team start like that against a defense that's supposed to be as good as the Colts are, and then make a comeback and win. Steelers did make a comeback, but it ended up falling short. Justin Fields was incredible yesterday. That game was genuinely. I had the sound on for most of that game. 2 TVs, and then 4 box, and then the 2 box up top. You kind of have to choose which audio you're going to listen to, which ones you're going to flip flop back and forth from. So I thought the Steelers and Colts would be such a competitive game, and I wanted to listen to how the broadcasts kind of played out, especially after Richardson got hurt. Flacco came in the first quarter, finished 16-26, 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. He just did his job yesterday. With the way the run game was going, Jonathan Taylor had 88 yards. They were running the football. They were running the football well as a team. They finished. Let me see here. They finished with 133 rushing yards. So they just didn't ask Flacco to do too much. And then when they got the 14-point lead, after Flacco goes 9 plays, 86 yards, and hits Josh Downs, and Josh Downs had a really good game as well. Colts take a 17-0 lead after a field goal, and their defense was flying around. I looked at the team stats at the end of the game. It doesn't really show that, but if I would have just got the first half stats, I think it would have exemplified this point a little bit more. But if you watch the game, Speed is one of the last. I can't remember his first name, but Speed and then Zaire Franklin. They were flying. Those are the Colts linebackers. They were flying around. Latu was making plays off the edge. The Colts defense has gotten ridiculed, a lot after their 0-2 start. But I mean, they played really well yesterday against the Steelers team in a quarterback that was very dynamic. Second half, so it's 17-3 at the half. The second half starts like this: punt, fumble, Colts miss, field goal. So it's looking like it's just going to kind of be an ugly game. Steelers can't get any offense going. Nothing's really happening in the game. And then right after that, that's when the game was decided, because you go 5 straight scoring drives. Pittsburgh scores a touchdown. Pittsburgh scores a touchdown. Justin Fields rushing touchdown. Then they come back. Flacco throws his second touchdown. Then Fields goes another rushing touchdown. Then the Colts kick a field goal, and then the Steelers get a Fryer removed touchdown with 3:40 left in the game, and it's 27-24, and you're thinking, okay, anything, Steelers have the best defense in the league. They can get a stop here on Flacco. You never know what can happen. They go 3 and out, get the ball back right away, and then what was it? Fields, did he take a sack? I think he did. Oh, he fumbled. That's what it was. There was the bad snap. They snapped it off his helmet, and they lost a bunch of yards on that play, and it just put him behind the sticks. Fields in the Steelers, they only had 3 touchdowns offensively coming into the game. He produces 3 yesterday, 22 of 34, 312, a touchdown, and then 2 rushing touchdowns, like I just mentioned. And he finished with 360-something total yards. So Fields played pretty incredible yesterday, all things considered. He did have that fumble that led to I guess it didn't lead to anything. They just punted after that. But he had the fumble, or I guess they fumbled twice. Well, regardless, he had one bad fumble, and he made up for that afterwards. The Steelers kind of just needed one defensive stop, and I guess you could say the Fields fumble might be the difference. I don't know. I thought Justin Fields was not the issue yesterday whatsoever. Their defense got gashed by a Joe Flacco-led team, which I guess if you're a Steelers fan, you're kind of thinking you're time traveling, because Flacco is carving you up like it's, circa 2013 again. It was wild to see. TJ Watt was a non-factor. Double team for most of the day, but he only had 2 tackles and 0 sacks, 0 QB hits. You remember, if you heard the Friday preview, that the Colts' only focus for this game was slowing down TJ Watt, and that was the only way they're going to win the game. Well, they slowed down TJ Watt, and they get a win. So, was impressed by the Colts yesterday. I already mentioned Jonathan Taylor had 88 yards and a touchdown. He did leave the game late with a pretty nasty, looked like ankle sprain. So we'll see what his status is heading into week 5. I don't believe they have a bye week. So he's been really good. I mean, Jonathan Taylor looks like he is fully back to the Jonathan Taylor we saw, what was that, 2 years ago, maybe 3, but at least 2 years ago. It's nice to see the Colts have a run game. Richardson said he didn't come back in the game because he couldn't accelerate. He took a pretty nasty shot to the hip, so we'll see what happens with AR5 coming up this week. Shout out Josh Downs and Michael Pittman. They made a bunch of plays on the outside for the Colts yesterday, and they come up big with a 27-24 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, a win they needed to have because now they moved to 2-2. Steelers are 3-1. They're still in good shape, but Colts did expose some things today, I thought, and their offensive line had some issues. Fields was running around a little bit, but long term, you can't be too worried about the Steelers' defense. I think they'll be all right. They were missing Alex Highsmith yesterday, but that's the first game recap. Colts take care of the Steelers 27-24 and get back to 500 at 2-2. Other game in this window that I was really excited about, that turned out to be a kind of a sleeper, then it turned out good, was Vikings at Packers. Vikings win 31-29. Now, The game started about as bad for the Packers as you could have expected. I mean, the Minnesota scores on 4 of their first 5 drives, touchdowns on 4 of their first 5 drives. Welcome back, Jordan Addison. He has 2 touchdowns in the first half. And then the Packers' first half looks like this: missed field goal, interception, missed field goal, interception. Those are their first 4 drives. So they turn the ball over twice, and then they turn the ball over, and then they miss 2 field goals. I believe that's the first time that's happened in quite a long time. And then they go turnover on downs the next drive, a punt, and then they get a touchdown from a muffed punt from a Vikings player right before the half. And it's 28-27 at that point. So they're kind of back in the game. But then they really get back in the game here because they score 2 touchdowns in a matter of a minute and 30 seconds. There was a fumble in between by the Vikings. So the Vikings they let them right back into this game with a fumble right before half. And then the Packers get a touchdown at a half, and then they fumble again. And boom, they have an immediate red zone, and they score 2 touchdowns. I'm actually looking at it right here. It's like a minute and 22. So right then and there, it's 28-22 because they get the 2-point conversion as well. Brand new ball game. If you're a Minnesota fan, you're probably thinking, what just happened? Like, literally, what just happened? This is a team that, has owned this division for quite a long time in the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love's first game back, he did not look very good. 3 interceptions. But late, they had a chance to win the game. And even with Jordan Love's 3 interceptions, they make one of those field goals. It's 32-31. Now, of course, if he doesn't turn the ball over one of those times, that might lead to an extra field goal attempt. So it's kind of a devil's advocate there. But shout out Sam Darnold and the Vikings, man. They're contenders, for real. They've started 4-0 and won 4 games in 4 different ways. And you have to remember the statement they made against the Niners, the statement they made against the Texans last week, and then this week holding off the Packers at Lambeau, road win. Wasn't pretty down the stretch, but man, that first half, 4 out of 5 drives, you get a touchdown. Sam Darnold is absolutely balling. 2 touchdown passes in his first 4 games with his new team. Pretty remarkable stuff when Sam Darnold was written off a couple of years ago. Gotta feel good if you're Darnold, but he does have to take care of the ball a little bit. I believe he has 11 passing touchdowns now, which has to be top 3 in the league, if not number 2 or number 1. So Darnold in this Vikings offense is very good. Aaron Jones in his return to Green Bay doesn't get a touchdown. Does get 93 rushing yards and 46 receiving yards. And then Jordan Addison, I guess he only had 1 touchdown. I thought they gave him 2. Or was it a rush? I think it might have been a rush. Yeah, sorry. Jordan Addison had a rushing touchdown and then a receiving. And then Justin Jefferson, 6 for 85 and a touchdown. He was fantastic yesterday as well. So Vikings have trailed for less than 3.5 minutes this season. Let me say that again. The Minnesota Vikings, have trailed for less than 3.5 minutes this season. Pretty damn good. The Vikings look incredible to start the season. Kevin O'Connell in that offense. And Brian Flores, man, has just given so many people problems. And they look fantastic on that defensive side. You got to give it up to the Vikings. They've looked great so far to start the season. And the Packers, on the other hand, well, they have some stuff to clean up. They had 8 penalties today, and, of course, the 4 turnovers. Jordan Love's 0-2 on the season. Malik Willis is 2-0. Now that everyone's going to put out that graphic. I don't know how much it means. The Packers ran a completely different offense those 2 weeks Jordan Love was out, and I don't think they have any shot of getting back into this game today unless Jordan Love was out there. So we'll see what the Packers start to look like as Jordan Love gets healthier. Can't be too worried about them. But man, their defense did not look good to start the game. But the Vikings have kind of done that to everybody so far this season, just blitzed them. Vikings beat the Packers 31-29, and they are 4-0. Then we had the Eagles at Buccaneers. Buccaneers beat that ass 33-16. Weather in Tampa yesterday was disgusting. Now, I went to school in Florida, so I know a little bit about the disgusting weather, but I think Tampa's got to be probably up there with the worst that I can get in Florida, just because the humidity is so high up there. I think at one point they went to Aaron Andrews on the sideline, and it was only like 90-something degrees outside, but it felt like 107. 107 with the humidity. You saw guys cramping all game long, but one guy style who wasn't getting cramping yesterday was Baker Mayfield. Man, this guy just continues to do the damn thing. 30 of 47, 347, 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. And he had 3 players. He was distributing the rock yesterday. 3 players with at least 6 catches and 50 yards. And that would be Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Cade Otton. That's how you get your 3 best weapons involved in an offense, in a game plan. Baker has done a great job just distributing the ball and staying within himself and doing his thing. He looks comfortable out there. He looks like the leader of the team, and he looks like potentially the new face of Tampa Bay sports with Stamkos and some of those lightning guys getting to the back. I'm not saying he is yet. I'm just saying he might be trending in that direction. I guess you'd have to maybe put a Rays player in there, but Randy Arozarena is gone. So I just think Baker's kind of taken over the city of Tampa. He's got that place live, and they fucking dominated the Eagles yesterday, and it really was not even a game. O-line gave up, Tampa had 6 sacks, and the Eagles without Lane Johnson now are 14-24 since he was drafted. Bucks took big advantage of that. Vita Vea came back, and you could see their run defense was filling holes and stopping Saquon for the most part, besides that big run. Getting to Jalen, making plays. Just loved what I saw from the Bucks defense, and their offense just stays hot. 445 total yards, 29 first downs, 6 of 13 on third down, and they were pretty balanced. 334 through the air, 111 on the ground, and they averaged 6 yards per play. I mean, that's going to get it done a lot of Sundays in the NFL. A lot of them. I picked this Buccaneers team before the season because I didn't believe the Falcons were as good as everybody thought they were, and it would take a little bit of time if they were going to be that team. The Buccaneers were great at the end of last year. Could have easily played in the NFC Championship game. They didn't, of course, but Todd Bowles regroups this team, and Baker Mayfield comes back and re-signs a new deal, and they just keep humming. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin but I guess they've reestablished now after I think Godwin missed some time the last couple seasons with some injuries, but they've reestablished themselves as a top 5, 3, 8, 6, whatever number wide receiver duo in the NFL. I love watching, and they complement each other maybe better than anybody else's duo as well. Mike is a big body red zone threat that can take you deep, take the top off, and Chris Godwin just works the middle of the field, those underneath routes beautifully. I love watching Chris Godwin play football. I think we all really got to appreciate how good he was in his game when they got Brady, because we inevitably all watched it a little bit more. He reminds me when I watch him a lot of what Keenan Allen did for the Chargers. He's just a little bit more physical. But Chris Godwin, Mike Evans continue to be, Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. Chris Godwin is a damn good player in the NFL, and might be on a Pro Bowl track this year. I believe he is leading the league in receptions, if I'm not mistaken. Eagles, well, besides getting Lane Johnson back, he should be back. He just didn't clear concussion protocol in time. You never know with concussions. I don't want to say for sure, but you would hope that he would be back for them. But man, do they need A.J. Brown back. A.J. Brown has been the security blanket for Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Every quarterback needs a security blanket. He's been the security blanket for Jalen Hurts since he got there, but he's also their biggest threat in the pass game. Now, Devonta Smith didn't play yesterday either. That hurts them, but Jalen Hurts was 18 of 30 for 158 yards, a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and then 2 fumbles, only one of which he lost. But he was under pressure all day, couldn't really get a rhythm or anything going offensively. Credit the Bucs defense, man, and credit their offense for just just keeping their foot on the gas all game long and putting these boys away. Last thing I want to touch on before we move on from this game. So a lot of you guys probably saw this, the Tom Brady comment on the broadcast after they showed this quote card on the broadcast. Quote, this is from Baker Mayfield. Quote, "They wanted me to come in, be myself, bring the joy back to football for guys who weren't having as much fun." To which Tom Brady essentially said, I thought winning Super Bowls was fun. He basically said, I held myself and my teammates to a certain standard, and if you weren't meeting that standard, then we're not supposed to have fun. Tom Brady really I don't know if he ripped Baker Mayfield or more ripped the other guys in the locker room, because Baker didn't take any shots. He said what the franchise wanted him to do. But it sounds a little bit like the last year Brady was there when they weren't winning as much either. And I can't imagine, because we never saw this in New England. The Patriots never had the Patriot way with Brady, Belichick, and all those guys, and they were like a bad team. That always works if you're a competitive team and you're winning football games, because winning is fun. When you have to, and when you're doing all of this extra hard shit that a Belichick team or a Brady quarterback team does, you have you don't second guess any of it when you're winning. When you're losing, you start to come in and you're like, what the fuck are we doing all this bullshit for? We didn't do this when this guy was here, all that stuff. I don't think it was a shot at Baker Mayfield, but man, if those guys in the rest of the locker room really felt that way after watching Brady win a 7th for them, and then some of them decided, God, I'd rather just have somebody who's more chill, laid back, doesn't want to win a Super Bowl as bad as Tom Brady. I don't know the full scope of the story. I do not think it was a shot at Brady. But he said at the very end, competitive juice is still flowing. That comment pissed Brady off, because he's probably thinking back about some of the guys that he had doubts about if they were giving it their all in that last season he was there. And this might confirm it. And also, why the fuck are the Bucs franchise saying this to Baker? Or I guess I should say, Baker might have been able to word this a little bit better, but obviously if Tom Brady wasn't calling the game, I don't even know if we know about this. So there's that to it. I have no issue with the comments from Brady, the way he responded, because that dude's the ultimate winner. They used to say, there was a SportsCenter anchor for a long time. I think it was John Anderson. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember which one it was, but they used to jokingly say Tom Brady's the greatest living American. It's just Tom Brady can say kind of whatever he wants in terms of the football realm, because he's Tom Brady, and what does he not know? But I think it was a little bit overreaction on social media, but it was funny seeing Brady kind of get riled up like that. Eagles lose to the Buccaneers 33-16. They fall to 2-2. Bucs 3-1 atop that division. All right, Jaguars Texans. Texans win 24-10. Now, I didn't watch this game as intently as some other ones, but it was close the entire time. I'm going to start with this before we get to the actual game. Actually, let's get to the game, and then I'm because we'll get to the game quickly. There's not much I have to say on this game, especially when you're talking about an 0-4 team. Divisional game to a T. There was 5 lead changes in the game. Jags got a gift on the opening drive after the Texans punted. They get a muffed punt, and they need 2 yards to get to the end zone. Brian Thomas Jr. Gets a touchdown. Jags are up 7-0. Texans come back, tie the game with Stephon Diggs' first career rushing touchdown, which is just kind of I didn't expect Diggs to have 25 rushing touchdowns in his career, but it's just he never got one end around or something like that. Jags take a 10-7 lead, so there's your another lead change there. Teams trade punts. Texans get a touchdown, 12 plays, 74 yards. That takes almost 8 minutes of the clock. That's a Nico Collins touchdown for you. Another lead change, 14-10. Jags get a field goal, 14-13, and then the Texans get a field goal right before the half And so it's 17-13 at the half. You're thinking, oh, man, like this could be a shootout. Maybe the Jaguars have found their offense. But it was a little false hope because, like I said, they only had 7 because, I mean, I know they scored the 2 field goals, but they really only had 7 because of the muff punt. You know what I mean? So I thought this could turn into a shootout. That didn't happen because we got 14 points in the second half, 4 by each team. Now, the Jags did tie this thing up. They took the lead at like the beginning of the third quarter, 20-17. Lawrence finally gets a touchdown, and then it was kind of ugly after that. Punt, turnover on downs from the Jags after they go 9 plays, 87 yards. Don't know why they didn't kick a field goal there to go up 6. Now, it wouldn't have mattered in the long run, but you do put a little bit different type of pressure being up 6 as opposed to 3, knowing you need a touchdown as opposed to touchdown is a luxury. But also the Jags are 0-3 at this point, so you got it. Doug Peterson's is like, hey, we got to go win this game. So they turn it over on downs, 4 straight punts after that, and then the Texans go 9 plays, 69 yards, and they win this thing pretty much on a walk-off touchdown. The Jags did have 2 plays that they ran, but it was pretty much a walk-off touchdown. Stroud looked so surgical on that last drive. Let me see if I can pull up some of the throws for you. 26 yards to Nico Collins. Abumawale, a little short pass. Nico Collins again. Abumawale again. Abumawale again. Schultz. Scramble. Touchdown. Abumawale. He was really good for them yesterday. Let me actually pull up his box score. That's Arike Abumawale. If you don't know who that is, she was a Notre Dame basketball player. She's currently in the WNBA right now. I can't for the life of me remember what team she's on. Maybe Dallas. But she's the one that hit those 2 buzzer beaters in the semifinal in the national championship for Notre Dame when they went on that Cinderella run. Yeah, he had 4 catches for 47 yards and then 2 for 7. He kind of gives them a nice little burst, especially with Joe Mixon out there playing a little bit differently these past couple weeks. But the Texans, they get the win, 3-1. Stay undefeated at home. But let's get to what I really want to talk about in this game. The Jaguars franchise is officially in no man's land. Trevor Lawrence is not the guy. Not the guy. Not in my opinion, he's not the guy. What is that? 9 straight starts now he's lost. He had 169 yards and 2 touchdowns today. Great. 18-33. When you think about rallying behind a guy in the locker room, now I don't obviously know this guy, but I can't imagine like he's the guy that really rallies that franchise and gets them to where they need to go. And not only that, but I mean, Doug Peterson has to be getting fired after this year, right? I mean, it's just the way the NFL works. I'm not saying they should, but it's the way the NFL works. Let me find his record. That's a rich owner that doesn't want to continue to lose. Doug Peterson is 18-20. And remember, he's 1-9 in his last 10 games. So at one point, he was 17-11 as a Jaguars head coach, which is not incredible, but it's way better than 18-20. They're in bad spot. I think Shad Khan is going to fire Doug Peterson. I don't know if they do it during the year. I don't know what they gain out of that. But all the rumors, I'm sure you guys have heard some of them too, is Bill Belichick. That's who the insiders are reporting could be rumored, because Tony Khan, who was the son of Shad Khan, has a great relationship with Bill Belichick. We'll see what happens there. But my point is that they're already talking about potential replacements for Doug Peterson being Bill Belichick. So that usually tells me that people know if it doesn't go a certain way that he is going to lose their job, especially when you think about how they collapsed at the end of last year. I don't know, man. Stroud and Nico Collins continue to be one of the top 5-8, wide receiver quarterback duos in the NFL. Stroud was 27 of 40, 345 yards and 2 touchdowns. I say those numbers so casually, but this guy's in his second year. CJ Stroud, I still, we all kind of take it for granted because he just arrived so fast last year and he was so good. But this guy's still in his second year in the NFL doing and putting up numbers like this. And he's pretty much made Nico Collins into a household name because he had 12 catches for 151 yards and a touchdown on Sunday as well. Last thing on the Jags, what the fuck is going on with Travis Etienne? He had 12 touches yesterday. Tank Bigsby had 7 carries for 90 yards. I understand that Etienne had more touches. Bigsby, from when I was watching the game, and especially in the first half, Bigsby was on the field more than Etienne. It might have changed in the second half when I wasn't paying as detailed attention to it, but even the broadcaster made a point that Etienne was like off the sideline in the first half with just his helmet in his hand, wasn't even on. I don't know what's going on with Etienne. Maybe there was like an in-house suspension for the first quarter or something like that. I'm not sure. It was just something to keep an eye on because Etienne's supposed to be Lawrence's guy. We'll see what happens. Jags moved to 0-4 with a loss to the Texans 24-20. Now, Bengals, Panthers, we go from a winless team to a team that just got their first win, and that would be the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, welcome to the NFL season, Cincinnati. It's nice that you finally showed up. This would have been nice in week, I guess they did show up in week 2, but, this would have been nice in week 1 for sure when you guys played the Patriots, who are starting to look outside of the Titans like maybe the worst team in the NFL. But you got to give credit where it's due. They won the game today. Little closer than I expected early in this game, but I do think I told you to bet the over in this one on Friday. The Bengals scored touchdowns on 4 straight drives after punting on their first drive. They only had 3 drives in the first half. All of them ended up in touchdowns. Chase Brown gets a touchdown. Jamar Chase. I mean, I'm certain you guys probably saw this play too. Jamar Chase bounces off one guy, spins off another, and then just goes crib talk. The level of wide receiver play on Saturdays and Sundays right now is just absurd. I'll have more for that on Wednesday during the college football stuff. And then they score 1 second before the half. Zach Moss gets a pass from Joe Burrow. 21-14 at the half after Xavier Legette gets a touchdown. Chuba Hubbard got a touchdown. Chuba Hubbard looks really good for the Panthers, if I might add. Second half, Bengals open up with their 4th straight touchdown. They get a field goal. It's now 31-14, and at that point, you kind of go, well, this game's over. Now, Bengals did score another touchdown. The Panthers added 10 more points, but ultimately the Bengals cover and win 34-24. Burrow, 22 of 31, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He got rolled up on really bad in the game yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised if he's limited at times during practice this week. But ultimately, if you're the Bengals, just had to get off the schneid this week. Just could not afford to lose again. If they get off the schneid, they're 1-3, and crazy enough, they have the same record as the Panthers. Shout out Chase Brown, 2 touchdowns, 80 yards yesterday. A lot of people were calling for him to play more. I know they signed Zach Moss, but Chase Brown has got a different kind of burst to him. Carolina, they can be competitive with Andy Dalton, Chuba Hubbard, and Deontay Johnson. They can't afford to get down 17 points in a game ever. They will lose every single one of those games. And they've given up the most points in the NFL this season. That's why they can't get down 17 points, because they're going to give up more points after that no matter what. Credit the Bengals. Went into Carolina. Super hostile environment yesterday. I mean, I don't know if you saw that crowd down there. No, of course not. The fucking crowd sucked. Bengals win 34-24. Burrow and the boys off the schneid, 1-3. Okay, we're wrapping up the early morning window. 3 more games to get to. Falcons at Saints. Falcons win 26-24. This game was straight up fucking wild from start to finish. Starts with a muffed punt that is recovered in the end zone by the Falcons, touchdown 7-0. Well, then how about a little bit of dose of Taysom Hill, because he scores the next 2 touchdowns of the game. It's 14-7. Every time Taysom Hill's on your TV screen, you forget he's in the NFL. And then when and especially if you're watching Red Zone at times, they will show nothing of a Saints game besides 2 players. They'll show you an Alvin Kamara play, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, Taysom Hill still plays here, and here's him running over 4 defensive linemen for another touchdown. And no, he's not going to throw the ball. 2 rushing touchdowns for Taysom Hill. Puts the Saints up 14-7. Younghoe Koo, 14-10. And then a pick 6 makes it 17-14 in the first half. So the Falcons have 17 points in the first half. 14 come from special teams or defensive touchdowns. And then Taysom Hill has 2 touchdowns in the first half. If that isn't just weird in just the NFL in a nutshell for you, then I don't know what it is. Second half, a little bit different. Atlanta takes a 23-17 lead, 10 minutes left. Saints go 12 plays, don't get a touchdown. Falcons 3 and out. Olave makes 2 big catches. Saints score with 1 minute left. Alvin Kamara punched that bitch in. So there's quite literally 1 minute left on the clock. And the Falcons, I can't remember if they had any timeouts left. They didn't have any timeouts left. Falcons had no timeouts left. And the way they get into field goal range is a, 30-yard pass interference on Darnell Mooney, Darnell Mooney and Kirk Cousins. Something happened because Mooney looks incredible for them. Cousins is throwing the rock up to him. Let's see. Listen to this drive that won the Falcons the game. 5-yard pass to Ray McLeod, false start, so they lose the yardage. They go to Mooney, they get the pass interference, there's 30 yards. Incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass. Younghoe Koo hits the longest field goal in Mercedes-Benz Stadium history, 58 yards to win the game. He also has his 8th game winner since 2021, and yeah, that's the most in the NFL. Younghoe Koo, bitch. Did you think he was missing that? Fuck no. Younghoe's the man. Or if you want to call him Young Ho, that's fine too. But regardless, that dude's the man. And shout out the Falcons for getting one of the ugliest wins I have ever seen in my motherfucking life. Because goddamn did Kirk Cousins suck yesterday. 21-35 for 238 yards in an interception. Dude's got negative mobility. None. Well, let's check if... Oh, that's right. Kyle Pitts, 0 catches again. This offense, 1 week good, 1 week bad. I turned this game on right when it was coming out of half. Bijan Robinson was fuming on the bench. Fuming from not getting the ball enough. He finishes with 7 carries for 28 yards, and then he gets 4 catches for 46 yards. I have a pretty strong feeling that we could be looking at Saquon Barkley 2.0 in terms of just wasting one of the best, most elite runners we have in our game on a shit team and a shit O-line. Now, we'll see if the Falcons can improve. I know their offensive line's supposed to be pretty good, but I don't know what happened today or if Bijan's just not seeing the holes, because Algier had 8 carries for 60 yards, so maybe that is the case. But, man, to win this game and for pretty much your whole team to not, or your main skill players outside of Mooney in London, do kind of nothing for you, gotta feel pretty good. Shout out Tyler Algier, 80 total yards. I guess he had 10 touches for 80 yards, so Algier played his butt off. Yeah, he was averaging 8 yards touch, so maybe that was the reason why you sit down Bijan a little bit. But both these teams I don't expect to be competitive deep into the season unless Kirk Cousins gets healthy. But this Saints team, I was having to change course after 2 weeks, but in my season preview, I said they need to blow this thing up and rebuild immediately. And I believe that now more than ever, because they started 2-0, look like the best offense in the NFL. What does Derek Carr do for the second straight week? 28-36, 239 interception. Just, I don't know. I just don't see it. Olave and Shaheed had good games, 87 yards and 83 yards, both 8 catches, but Shaheed also probably lost them this game with that muffed punt in the first quarter to start the game. Falcons take the Saints, take a win over the Saints, 26-24, and they stay one game back of the Bucs in that division. Okay, 2 more games in the morning wave. Rams at Bears. Bears won 24-18. This first half was disgusting. I mean, just gross football being played. I'm going to tell you the Rams' first half. They start field goal. Hell yeah, some points. Fumble, miss field goal. Bears, first 3 drives, 16 plays. They take 12 minutes, time of possession. They total 25 yards. And then on their final 2 drives, they have a 3-play touchdown after Montez Sweat gets a sack fumble. And then they kick a field goal. And it's 10-6 at the half with some of the most disgusting football you've seen be played so far this season. Second half, picked it up a bunch. Bears put together their best offensive stretch of the season. To start the second half, they go 12 plays, 74 yards, DJ Moore touchdown. That throw Caleb Williams made is why he was the number 1 pick. That throw was filthy. And he put that in a window that was only DJ Moore was going to catch that ball. And then they go 5 plays, 70 yards, which is capped off by probably the most important play of their season so far in terms of building towards something. And that's a DeAndre Swift 36-yard touchdown rip where he hurdled the guy after he made a move. And he looked like the DeAndre Swift they paid all that money for. So super important stretch for Chicago to get those back-to-back drives. 4 touchdown drives Caleb Williams led. Really, it's 3 because the Roschon Johnson touchdown run drive, they were just given the ball in the red zone. They ran 3 plays. But regardless, Caleb played much better, didn't turn the ball over. Let me find his final stat line right here. Yeah, 17-23, 157 yards and a touchdown. Hey, he doesn't look like he's putting up Mahomes numbers, but also he had 6 incompletions. I don't believe he fumbled today or turned the ball over. No turnovers from them, and he gets his second win in a win that I think Bears fans can be less freaked out about when they win a game is, that he's going to be just fine. There's still some bad in there. I think I had it written down while I was watching the game that Caleb scrambling and making plays off schedule, very good. His accuracy at times can be horrible. Now, I know I just praised his accuracy, 17-23, but some of the 6, I don't know if he's just throwing them away, and I'm not good at seeing which ones he's throwing away, and he doesn't react at all, but some of them are just airmailed and sailed over receivers' heads. But they got to win, 24-18. Swift is the first Chicago running back with 70-plus yards on the ground, 70-plus yards through the air since 2015. And how about actually, let me talk about the Rams first. We're going to get to them a little bit in overreaction, I believe, but they're in trouble. Stafford is getting hit at a rate you do not want him to be hit this late in his career with how tough he is. They don't really have any weapons outside of Kyron on the outside. Tutu Atwell, I guess you could say. But Stafford just is getting drilled left and right. They got to protect him or else his career is going to end probably a year or 2 sooner, just based on how this season's going. And they're already 1-3. Shout out Tory Taylor. You're probably like, who is that, Parker? That's the fucking punter for the Bears. 277 yards of punts, 3 of them inside the 20, and he hit a 66-yarder yesterday. He helps them. Without Tory Taylor, I don't think they win that game. I'll just say that. I thought he was that important for flipping field position in a game where the Rams couldn't move the ball very well. Just loved what I saw from Tory Taylor and how when you watch a punter like him, you can see the importance of special teams and being a great team in all 3 phases. If you're a Bears fan, hey, you're 2-2. It hasn't looked pretty. It hasn't looked disgusting. I thought this week was probably I know Caleb threw for like 350 yards last week, but he had some horrible turnovers. I think you'd probably take this game over that, especially because you get your run game going. Let me see if I can get the final number on the run stats right here for you. 131 rush yards after they couldn't run the ball at all through the first couple of weeks. So shout out the Rams, or shout out the Bears, 24-18. And I believe they are 2-0 at home. 2-0 at home. Gotta feel good if you're a Bears fan. You're 2-0. I don't know when the last time you guys could, or 2-2, excuse me. You have 2 wins. Just keep building if you're a Bears fan. Last game of the morning window, Broncos at Jets. This is going to be the fastest recap I probably do this whole entire season. This was the most disgusting. I would be shocked if there is a more disgusting game this season than what we saw between these two teams. Now, the weather played a massive factor. It was disgusting out there. But the two teams in the first half combined for 12 punts, 7 3-and-outs. Each team fumbled, and the Jets led 6-0. I don't even know how they got in field goal range to score 6. Denver in the first half had 46 total yards, and Bo Nix had -7 net passing yards. -7 net passing yards and 46 total yards in the first half for the Broncos. I would be laughing a little bit harder if they didn't win this game 10-9, because all the scoring in the second half came on 3 straight drives. Broncos go 11 plays, 87 yards, and Bo Nix throws his first career touchdown pass. That is mighty impressive what they did on that drive in that weather with a rookie quarterback to go execute like that. And then he throws a touchdown. It's good shit, man. It's good shit. It really is. So it's 7-9, or excuse me. Yeah, it's 7-6 at that point. Jets get another field goal right after. Then Broncos take the first lead of the game, their first lead of the game, or second lead. They retake the lead, excuse me. And then Sean Payton, for some reason, kicks a 50-yard field goal with Will Lutz that misses, gives the Jets beautiful field goal range where Rodgers only needs to make a couple throws and they can get in there. Well, Greg Zuerlein missed one too. They both missed 50-yard field goals to end the game, and that is exactly how you wrap up a shit fest. I mean, I don't even really know what else you want me to say. The Broncos had 186 total yards and the Jets lost. Rodgers was bad, 24-42, 225 yards. And oh, by the way, did I mention Bo Nix, 60 total yards passing, and they lost the game. Jets, Robert Saleh, if you get fired, point to this game right here. Great coaches don't lose this fucking game. That's why you're not one of them yet. Broncos win 10-9, and they have the same exact record as the Jets in the most disgusting game I watched of football since last season, at least. We'll just leave it at that. That wraps up your morning slate of games. Let's jump into the afternoon now. Let's talk about Jayden Daniels, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit. 42-14, the Commanders win. Jayden Daniels was 26 of 30 for 233 yards, touchdown, interception, rushing touchdown. Here's some stats for you. 82% completion percentage. That's the greatest start to a completion percentage to the first 4 games in NFL history. He has 218 rushing yards, second most by a QB through 4 games in NFL history. Is that good? Oh, and by the way, their team scored on 16 straight drives, excluding kneel downs, before he threw that interception. Holy shit. Looked like we were going to have a game early. Marvin Harrison Jr. gets the opening touchdown of the game. And then what do the Commanders do? Touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, field goal, 27-7, just like that before the Cardinals score again. Washington's defense, if they play like this, there is no telling how good this team can be with Jayden Daniels as their quarterback. When we saw Stroud last year, we thought, will we ever see anything like this again? We might be seeing it one-upped this year. Jayden Daniels has been that good. Like, what are we talking about here? They've scored at least 20 every game, and they've scored 38 and 42 the last 2 weeks combined. They've scored 80 points the last 2 weeks. They're averaging 40 a game. Now it's against Cincinnati and it's against Arizona. But this team is 3-1 with 2 road wins. It's pretty dang impressive, bro. They got to go play the Browns and the Ravens coming up at Baltimore. Well, that will be a special game when he takes on Lamar. But this shit is so fun to watch. Jayden Daniels play football. Brian Robinson's running the rock. Terry McLaurin making plays on the outside. Noah Brown, who they picked up from the Texans. Alameda Zacchaeus yesterday. Luke McCaffrey. They got Ertz. I like the way this team's playing. Brian Robinson, 21 carries, 101 yards and a touchdown. Jayden Daniels, 47 for a touchdown. They had 216 rushing yards. This team is a high prolific offense, man. And the best feeling in this game, if you're a Commanders fan, I don't know if you saw it after the game, is man, that's got to feel good if you're Cliff Kingsbury. Team that hired you, they end up firing you after, things happen. Kyler's kind of hurt. Your teams don't play that well, and they were fired up in the locker room after the win to give him that game ball. The Commanders are 3-1. I don't think anybody would have guessed that, like, at all. Even if you're a Commanders fan, I'm not sure you would have guessed that. But if you guessed Jayden Daniels was this good, then this is not a surprise at all. I picked him for Offensive Rookie of the Year, obviously, but I didn't think he was going to be this good. I mean, my goodness. 26 of 30. Ball just doesn't really hit the ground when this guy's throwing the rock. It's mighty impressive what Washington has done, considering they've been pretty bad since RG3 and Kirk Cousins, I guess you could say. It's been at least a decade. I mean, Jayden Daniels, Dan Quinn, this team feels like they got something special going on, maybe. We'll see how things continue to play out, but Jayden Daniels is much watch TV, and that is not up for debate. The Cardinals, they competed hard against Detroit, competed hard against Buffalo. Don't matter. They got their brakes, their doors blown off today, and they're now 1-3. The only positive is, I guess, is that their division is not as good as it was the last couple of years, but Cardinals are pretty much out of it now at 1-3. Especially if the Seahawks go 4-0 tomorrow, and then you still have the Niners. Just don't see it with the Cardinals. Love watching Kyler Murray play. Love watching Marvin Harrison play. They just don't have enough weapons, enough pieces. Commanders win 42-14. Chiefs at Chargers. Chiefs win 17-10. Interesting note, if you were watching this game, you already saw it. First matchup of the reigning national champion college football coach and the reigning Super Bowl champion coach in NFL history. Thought that was pretty cool. Would think it was even better if we won. Game couldn't have started more like it. This was a dream start as a Chargers fan. Dream start. Carson Steele fumbles on the opening drive. Herbert goes 10 plays, 74 yards in 7 minutes. Touchdown to Ladd McConkey. Hell yeah, we're up 7. The Chargers are up 7-0. First play of the next drive, Mahomes throws an interception to Fulton. Why can't I remember his name right now? Christian Fulton. The Chiefs have had the ball for 5 plays, and they have 2 turnovers. Chargers are winning 7-0. They settle for a field goal on the next drive, 10-0. And that's when, as a Chargers fan, you get worried. Because when you play the Chiefs, you got to score 7, not 3. You have to. The rest of the first half was disgusting and up until Xavier Worthy. 3 and out, 4 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 9 plays punt, 3 plays punt. Everyone in the stadium's dead. They load one up. Xavier Worthy, 1 play, 54 yards, touchdown. Chiefs are right back in the game before the half. 10-7. Now, they could have tied it up before the half. Harrison Butker did miss. I think it was a 65-yard field goal attempt. 65 yarder. So, I mean, it's not like he missed something short. 65 yarder. Chargers opened the second half with a missed field goal of their own. Then the Chiefs tie the game. And then they eventually get the game-winning touchdown, because why wouldn't they get the game-winning touchdown? This is Travis Kelce. This is Patrick Mahomes. They are inevitable. Kansas City let up an opening drive touchdown in every game so far this season, so that's something to keep an eye on if you're betting Chiefs game, is maybe just bet the other team to score on their opening drive. Mahomes' interception in the first quarter, third straight game with an interception in the first quarter. But ultimately, none of that shit matters. None of it. Because the second half was an offensive struggle for both sides of the ball. Herbert did not get protected very well, and even when he had to kind of move around, you could just tell everything he threw was with just his arm. He had nothing on his legs yesterday. I don't understand why he played, because now you play him, you lose this game, and if you didn't play him, you'd probably be in the exact same spot, which is 2-2, except your starting quarterback now has a full extra week before the bye week to get healthy, and then still more 5 days of practice before the next game. They could have bought him like 19 days of rest. At minimum 14. I don't understand it. The Chiefs have not looked good in any way, shape, or form this season, but they're 4-0. That's the Chiefs right there, man. It's disheartening when you play them, man, because the game is so close and you think you might have a chance, and then as soon as you don't make that one play that you feel might be the difference, the Chiefs go score a touchdown and the game's over, and they make a play on defense. Herbert is he's tired of the shit. I think this is his 7th or 8th season. He's done getting hit. He's done losing games, and he's done with guys making mistakes. During the game yesterday, he not only slammed his helmet on the sideline, on the bench, like into a bench because of frustration, he yelled at Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, to get the plays in faster. And you can tell he is tired of getting hit and hurt. He is. He's stepping into his leadership role, which is good. But my goodness, if they don't start protecting Herbert, we could see some repercussions for all the hits that he's taken. Chiefs are 4-0, and they've not played anywhere close to their level of football. That is terrifying. And the rest of the AFC West is now 2-2. Gets Las Vegas here in a second. But the rest of the AFC is 2-2, which means the Chiefs have a 2-game lead over everyone in the division, which in many ways feels insurmountable. So Chiefs may have just won their, I think, 10th, maybe more straight AFC West title, but they are going to have to do it the rest of the way without their number one wide receiver, Rashee Rice. On that interception return, Christian Fulton fumbles the ball. Rashee Rice is going to pick it up. Mahomes is trying to make a play and quite literally drills Rashee Rice's knee. I'm sure you guys have already seen it. It is likely that when this is out, that it has been confirmed that he has a torn ACL. I'm reading the bottom of the ESPN right now, top news. Chiefs, Rashee Rice feared to have torn ACL. So Rashee Rice out for the season. We'll see if they make a move potentially for wide receiver, maybe that wears number 17 in their own division. I don't know. They might have to make a move at wide receiver now, being down Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice probably for the season. Travis Kelce did play his best game of the year. Let's see. He finished over 90 yards, right? 7 catches, 89 yards. So I don't know if that bodes well, though, for Travis Kelce going forward if Rashee Rice is going to be out. Chiefs are going to have to do it shorthanded. Pacheco's out for another 5 to 7 weeks. Rashee Rice is likely out for the season. Hollywood Brown hasn't played a game for them yet. So they're losing skill position players left and right. They may have to make a move. So keep an eye on that. But otherwise, the Chiefs, I think have now won 6 of the 7 games they've played against Herbert in his career. So, and they've won, I think, 9 or 10 straight up in a row. I might have that wrong, but it feels like 100 in a row. Chiefs beat the Chargers 17-10. They stay undefeated at 4-0. Next game is the Patriots at 49ers. Niners win 30-13. This game was over at halftime. Straight up was, ladies and gentlemen. I said in my game preview that I didn't, like, you just don't disrespect teams and make them 10-point underdog. 10 wasn't enough. 10 wasn't enough because they got their shit rocked. I mean, the Patriots suck. The week 1 win is going to age insanely because I said in my season preview, I thought they would start 0-8. When they won week 1, I was like, holy shit, are they actually decent? No, the Patriots suck. They lost 3 in a row. Ramondre Stevenson fumbles for his 4th straight game after the Niners get a field goal. The Niners get another field goal after that. Then Fred Warner gets a pick 6, and it's 13-0 just like that. Patriots do nothing. No, Niners get another touchdown. It's 20-0. They get a field goal before the half. This shit was over. Felt like, ladies and gentlemen, this shit was over. George Kittle, was that the touchdown in the first half? I think it was. Yeah, that George Kittle touchdown was fucking filthy. The Fred Warner pick 6, disgusting as well. But that George Kittle, I mean, I think there was 3 defenders. And shout out to one of my homies who texted me this. I'm gonna steal it right here for the pod. That looked like Megatron. That looked like Megatron. You know it did too. Kittle looked like a monster. I know he didn't make a bunch of plays yesterday, but he got robbed on a huge block he made for Jordan Mason. That was definitely not a holding call. I just love watching George Kittle play football. It was nice to see him back on the field. Yesterday, after missing a week, Deebo Samuel came back yesterday as well. They had their full complement of weapons besides Chris McCaffrey, obviously. They need Jordan Mason and the rest of the guys to stop. They need to hold on to the ball. The ball was loose yesterday for those guys, but Deebo comes back. Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, they all kind of contributed just enough. Purdy was making a lot of plays with his legs. But, I mean, what are we talking about? The Niners defense finally showed up as they should. 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 3 turnovers. There's really not much to say on this game besides the Patriots were never probably going to win this game. Niners, nice little get-right game for them as they head to Arizona and then Seattle and then KC. So their next 3 weeks, and they play on Thursday Night Football against Seattle as well. So 2 divisional games, one of them on the road, and then they play Kansas City. So a nice little 3-week stretch coming up here for the Niners where we get to really see what they're about. Not much else to say on that game besides the Patriots stink and the 49ers played how they were supposed to. 30-13 is the final in that one. Last game of the morning slate before we get to Sunday Night Football is Browns at Raiders. I believe in the preview I said this is just a shit game. Kind of turned out to be that way, but it was just wild when you think about it this way. This was a tale of quarters. Don't really know if I've seen anything like this as of late in an NFL game. So the first quarter, the Browns scored 10 points. 10-play, 70-yard drive. That takes 9 minutes, and then they get a field goal. Okay, lovely. Fantastic. Great. Raiders go 3 and out on their only drive. The Raiders had 1 drive in the first quarter. 1. 3 plays, negative 11 yards. In a minute 43, they punt. Browns get a field goal. It's 10-0 after the first quarter, after the Raiders have had 1 drive. All right, well, how about the second quarter now? Raiders go 11 plays, 70 yards. In 6 minutes, it's 10-7. What do the Browns do? They go 3 and out. And what do the Raiders do? You guessed it. They kick the field goal. It's 10-10. Holy shit. They just replicated each other in the first half because then the Browns punt after that and the half's over. It's 10-10 at the half. Okay, let's go third quarter now. Raiders get a field goal right out of the half. Browns throw a pick. Raiders get a touchdown. 10-0 in the third quarter as well. I mean, shit was just wild. Browns punt right after that. Next Raiders drive. Fumble recovery touchdown. We're in the fourth quarter now, by the way. Fumble recovery touchdown. for the Browns, and they missed the extra point, which loomed large late in this game because now it's 16-10. Neither team could do anything. It was punt, 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 turnover on downs after that. But the turnover on downs is a whole lot different if they make that extra point because Deshaun Watson got them into field goal range and they couldn't make a play in the red zone. And the Raiders come up huge without Devontae Adams and Max Crosby to win a game at home, 20-16. Las Vegas finally got their run game going, but let me just wrap up this point. Cleveland, 10-0 in the first quarter. Second and third quarter, Las Vegas, 10-0. Browns in the fourth quarter, 6-0. Each team scored in 2 quarters, and then that's it. But it ended up being the difference was those 2 10s, those 2 field goals put up by the Raiders in the second and third quarter, specifically the one in the third quarter, because then obviously the Browns missed the extra point, and then they can't get the game-tying field goal, and they have to go for a touchdown. Las Vegas got their run game going, 29 carries, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They were averaging 51 yards per game on the ground before this, so that's they have to be able to be more balanced because Gardner Minshew is not winning games for you by himself, especially when he's 14-24 for 130 yards. Deshaun Watson, 24 for 32, 176 yards, touchdown, and a pick. This game sucked. This was not a well-played football game. A lot of ugliness being had on both sides. Yes, defenses made plays, but there was also some horribly executed offense for sure. I don't want to take everything away from the way the defenses played, but come on, guys. There was some piss poor, to say the least, offense being played in that game yesterday. Great win for the Raiders to get back to 2-2 without their 2 best players. Something I will say quickly, I was watching Sunday Night Countdown, or Football Night in America before the Sunday night game. Mike Florio said that keep an eye on possibly Devontae getting traded before the trade deadline, depending on how the Raiders season goes. Let's all hope so from a football fan perspective, because I know he didn't play yesterday, but get that guy out of Las Vegas, please. Get him with a real quarterback. I beg of you. That wraps up the afternoon slate of games, and now let's talk Sunday night football. Bills at Ravens. Ravens put the work on the Bills tonight. Take away their undefeated record. 35-10 was your final. To say the Ravens jumped on them right away would be an understatement. Derrick Henry scored on the first fucking offensive touch of the game for the Ravens. 87 yards. Longest run in Baltimore Ravens history. I mean, it was ridiculous. He started the game going 87 yards to the crib, and it was like, this is fourth quarter Derrick Henry when you don't want to tackle him anymore. No. This was Derrick Henry saying, I'm still a top 5 running back in the NFL. He's the biggest son of a bitch I've ever seen run that fast in my life, dude. He was absurd in the first half. 9 carries for 109 yards and a touchdown and a receiving touchdown. That's his 8th game with 100-plus yards rushing in the first half alone. And then he finished 1 yard shy of 200, which would have given him the most in NFL history, 200-yard games. I'm just seeing that Kittle catch again while I watch SportsCenter right now. My God, George Kittle, you are a freak. Sorry, back to Monday Night Football. Lamar also played incredible in the first half, 11-13, 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the total yardage in the first half was 280-90 in favor of the Baltimore Ravens. And I thought it was worthy noting that, because in the pregame as well, Rodney Harrison asked Kyle Hamilton, "What do you who on your defense do you expect to make plays tonight?" And he kind of started and he goes, "Everyone in black." Everyone in black made plays for the defense on Sunday Night Football. They forced the Bills to 2 3-and-outs and then 2 other drives that were punts. They did get a field goal there, but dominant first half. It was 21-3 at halftime. I already told you the yardages. Bills got back into it briefly, 21-10. Ravens go 3-and-out. Momentum's kind of starting to swing. And then Josh roll. They fucking Bills fucked that drive up so bad. They do that little, like, Josh is on like the outside and they like flip it back to him. the flip back was horrible. Josh has to scramble out. Kyle Van Noy knocks it away from behind. He gets drilled, fumble on the play. Ravens score 6 plays later. It's 28-10. The game's pretty much over at that point. In my opinion, the game felt over at that point. I just mentioned Kyle Van Noy. He was unsigned through like 3 weeks last year. Maybe not through 3 weeks, but I think he was on McAfee show in like week 2 last year, or maybe preseason. But Van Noy didn't get signed until like right before the season started, and then balled out for the Ravens last year. You remember how good their defense was. Well, this season, he's got 2+ sacks in 3 straight games, and he forced that fumble. Van Noy is like found the fountain of youth. He played for the Patriots forever, went to Miami, and they couldn't figure out how to use him. He comes to the Chargers 2 years ago, plays well, and then he balled out in Baltimore last year. Shout out Kyle Van Noy, man, making plays. And this Ravens run game, 274 rushing yards last week. How about 271 more this week? That might have just wrapped up the rushing title for the season right there. They were flat out ridiculous last night. That looked like the Ravens team that everyone picked to go to the Super Bowl, beat the Chiefs, you name it, whatever accomplishment you want to talk about. Lamar, again, super efficient, 13 of 18, 156 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. I just told you Derrick Henry had 199 rushing yards and a touchdown. Big time stuff for him. Lamar, 54 more on the ground and a touchdown. And shout out Justice Hill, 6 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. Such a nice little jitterbug in the backfield back there. I love watching him play. Quick little burst. And then Keaton Mitchell, I think is his name, the guy who got hurt at the end of last year. When they get him back, this running game could be very scary. And boy, how do we change our opinion after 4 weeks in the NFL? First 2 weeks, the Ravens are completely imploding. What happened to the Ravens, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks later, Chris Collinsworth was saying on Sunday Night Football, I don't know how anybody in the NFL stops this offense. And if Likely gets his foot down in week 1, who knows? This is not your normal 2-2 team. And remember, they blew that crazy lead to the Raiders in week 2. This could easily be a 4-0 team. The Ravens looked dominant last night, and nobody wanted to tackle Derrick Henry. They have at Cincinnati, they go to Washington the next 2 weeks. So we get the first divisional game for them, and then we get to see the Jayden Daniels, Lamar Jackson show, which will be fun. I hope that's Sunday Night Football as well. But that pretty much wraps up the game recap from here. That throw Josh Allen made to Khalil Shakir was straight up ridiculous. They just didn't have anything going last night. 81 rushing yards on 23 carries. That's not going to get it done. And Josh Allen had a net 155 passing yards, 180 total, I guess you could say. But they didn't execute the way they needed to yesterday. And when Derek ripped off that run to start the game, you kind of knew something could be going on here. But that wraps up your week 4 recap. Ravens take care of Bills on Sunday Night Football, 35-10. I'm trying to think how many of these I got right. I lost the Packers bets. I gave you Chiefs Chargers under. I believe I took the Falcons -2.5, I think it was. So I think that's an L. Rams I took at +3, I think, so that's another L. Colts, we know that was an L. I took the Broncos +7.5, so that was a nice little win. I believe I took the Bucks. Don't quote me on that, though. That could be an L as well. Bengals, Panthers, I believe I said over and the Panthers, so I lost that one. Texans, Jaguars, I gave out the Texans, but can't remember what that number was. Commanders, Cardinals, I said over. Won that one. And I said Commanders +3.5, I think. 49ers, we know I lost that one. Raiders, Browns, I think I said bet the under. 36 feels like that went under because I think it might have been 35.5. And then Ravens, Bills, I said Ravens. So not a great gambler, as you can see, because let's get into the recap of P-Way's parlay. Steelers -1.5, loss. Bengals, Panthers over, hit it. Bills and Ravens over 46.5, lost. That one hurts because it was 45.5, but it was already dead because the Steelers lost. How about the touchdown scores? How to do good there, right? How about 0 for 3? Saquon, no touchdown. Aaron Jones, no touchdown. James Cook, no touchdown. And for the second straight week, ladies and gentlemen, that is a 1 for 6 on PUA's parlay as I continue to prove that I am the world's best gambler if you're just fading my picks, baby. Yeah, I suck. I am pretty awful at gambling. Remember, I do make these picks on Thursday. I don't know if anything would have changed if I made them on Sunday morning. So the fade train is on, guys. You just got to find the one to not fade because I'm hitting 1 for 6 consistently. Just find the one to not fade, and you could be in beautiful shape. Titans and Dolphins coming up later tonight. The battle of Snoop Huntley and Will Levis. If Will Levis loses this game, boy, I think he could get benched for Mason Rudolph. And then we have the great night game tonight, which is Seahawks-Lions. Cannot wait for that game tonight. I'm not going to give you any picks on these ones. We'll just react to them on Wednesday. Cannot wait for those two games coming up later tonight. All right, let's get to Overreaction Monday before we wrap this thing up and send you guys on your way to start the week. Okay, so last week, let's start with what I said last week. I said last week the NFC North is the best division in football. They went 2-1 on Sunday. Only loss was the Packers to the Vikings, another NFC North team. And then we find out if they go 3-1 this week, the Lions obviously will play the Seahawks tonight. I still feel good about this take. Vikings looked really good. Packers came back and, made their game competitive. Bears got another win against a team who we will talk about here coming up in the next in this week's overreaction. Andy Dalton will lead the Panthers to 5 wins. Still believe in that. You had to think the Bengals are going to get a win today. Their offense still looked much better than it did with Bryce Young. Defense obviously gave up 34 this week, and they've given up the most in the league. That might be what stops us from hitting 5 wins, but just believe in the rifle, man. Just believe. I said the Cowboys will miss the playoffs. They got to win this week against the Giants, but I don't believe in the Cowboys whatsoever. I already told you I think they're pretenders, not contenders. So still to be determined how the rest of the NFC will play out, but I don't love the Cowboys. The only thing that gives me worry is that Dak Prescott is definitely one of the 7 best quarterbacks in the NFC. So we'll see how that one plays out, but I kind of love that pick. Tennessee Titans will be picking first overall. We find out tonight. If they lose tonight, I think that take is firmly entrenched now because I think Will Levis is on bench watch quickly. That coach did not draft him, and you already saw him cuss him out on the sidelines in what was that, week 3, week 2? I think it was last week. So I feel good about all those overreactions from last week. We'll see how they play out as the season progresses, especially some of these longer term ones. I think they're all long. Yeah, I picked all long term ones. So let's get to this week's overreactions, starting at number 4. Just 4 again for you this week. Number 4, Rams will have a top 5 pick. It's hard for me to even say that, but the amount of injuries that they have at key positions is just you just can't really overcome that. They don't have a whole bunch of playmakers down Kupp and Nakua. I guess their defense looked pretty solid today. They were getting pressure on Caleb and, doing that stuff, but giving up that much running yards to a team that hasn't been able to run the football at all this season, I hate it, but I honestly think if you're a Rams fan, that might be the best thing long term. I'm pretty sure they have their first round pick this year. If they don't, then I look like a dummy for even putting this take out there, but let me just double check that real quick. Whatever, we're riding with it. Rams are picking top 5. Rams are picking top 5 if they have their own pick. I just think they're in for a rough, long year, dealing with injuries and stuff like that. Number 3, Ravens are going to win the AFC North. You saw the same thing I did last night. I'm not going to say who's stopping that team. That's just dumb. But if Lamar and Derek are going to play like this on a consistent basis, watch out because they looked dominant last night. And Derek is so big and physical, and then you just like, who do you put to guard them in the game? Like, do you put fast people to deal with Lamar? Do you put big people to deal with Derek? Because whatever you do, they're just going to do the opposite to you, which is, I mean, just a weapon that only they have. The Ravens have a one-of-one offense in the NFL, and that's why I'm picking them to come back and win the AFC North. It's less about the Steelers, and it's more about how good I think the Ravens are going to be this year. I know the Steelers are 3-1, but the other two teams in the division are 1-3. So I'm picking the Ravens to win the AFC North after 4 weeks. Overreactions after 2. Might even be in bigger overreaction after 4. We'll see. Number 2. Joe Flacco should be the starting quarterback for the Colts. Hear me out on this take. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years, correct? Now, I know that Anthony Richardson missed all of last year, but I think he still needs more time to see some stuff. In this Colts team, you watch them yesterday and you just go, I mean, they can be a playoff team with Flacco out there if their defense is going to play that good. But long term, it doesn't make any sense for the franchise, so they're never going to do it. But you saw what Pittman and Downs looked like. I mean, they have weapons. You haven't even been able to see A.D. Mitchell yet. Him and Flacco couldn't connect, but like they have legit weapons on the outside, and then obviously they have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. Like I think this Colts team, offensively at least, they have the best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. At least they did through last week. I don't know if that stood up through yesterday, but Flacco was slinging that pill. Just let I think it would be so fun to watch Flacco with this offense and that offensive line, and you give him a running back like Jonathan Taylor. I just think the Colts can be the Colts might. The Colts are not a playoff team with Anthony Richardson as their quarterback this year. He just makes too many mistakes. I just don't trust it, and that kind of is what ruined my Steelers -1.5. Is that I didn't expect Joe Flacco to play yesterday. So it is what it is. My number one overreaction from Week 4. Jaguars should trade Trevor Lawrence. They should. Trevor Lawrence is a fine quarterback, but the rest of your team, like the owner said before the season started, that this was the best roster they had in franchise history, including the one that went to the AFC Championship game and almost beat the Patriots. So they're 0-4, and they've looked bad. And Trevor Lawrence has not looked very good either. Just start over. You're going to probably fire Doug Peterson anyways. You're going to be picking high in the draft. Just start over. Trade Trevor Lawrence. Get a new franchise quarterback. Restart the quarterback market thing where you buy yourself 5 years. You still have pieces there. Brian Thomas Jr. on offense, but there's some seriously, I don't know about seriously, but there might be some overpaid players in positions that you need to be elite. I remember when the Christian Kirk contract first happened. Love Christian Kirk as a player, but that was a pretty large amount of money for Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram's been hurt. ETN, we saw what happened yesterday with the snap thing. They have Tank Bigsby. I just think, why not just restart if you're Jacksonville? I believe they're renovating their stadium or adding something to their stadium. Just start it over. Start the 5-year process over. What are you going to be worse? I mean, you started 0-4 right now. At the end of the season, you never know what anybody's quarterback situation could be like. What if the Raiders don't aren't bad enough to be picking, to get one of those elite quarterbacks? Who knows? There might be a team, that can trade for Trevor Lawrence, but it's also got to be, that big contract's got to fit into their budget as well too. So I don't know if it's feasible, but I think they should, as a franchise, restart 5 years, wipe a clean slate, and start it over, because you're competing with CJ Stroud in that division. The Titans are about to start over too. And Lawrence is not beating Stroud. And who knows what Richardson ends up becoming, but I don't see it with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. I think the franchise needs to restart, and they already regret paying that contract. Because when you pay that contract, never, ever, ever do you expect to be 0-4 at any point while you're paying him that amount of money. And they're 0-4 right after they paid it to him. Can't imagine Shad Khan's very happy about that. Those Doug Peterson ice cream sessions after the team meetings that we used to see when he was winning games might need to change up the flavor. But I think the Jags should trade Trevor Lawrence. And that's my number one overreaction from week 4. All right, that does it for another NFL Recap Monday podcast. Appreciate you guys for listening. Thanks for tuning in as always. Tell your friends that P-Way's got a podcast. Any way you can share it would be greatly appreciated. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you can. I'd love it. I'd appreciate it. Coming up on the next podcast Wednesday, we'll do college football recap, but it's really just going to be diving into maybe just what are we seeing now with the receiver in college football. Obviously, we'll dive into Bama, Georgia, and some other games as well. Ashton Genty's going to get a shot at. Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, college football has got some freaks right now, but that's all for Wednesday. And then we'll also do a little bit of golf on Wednesday, President's Cup. Not really a recap, but I don't know if you agree, but team golf is a fantastic thing to watch. I know the President's Cup's not the Ryder Cup, but team golf is fantastic to watch. It's most similar to what we play. And so I'm going to kind of propose something that I think the PGA Tour should do to incorporate more golf, maybe similar to what FIFA and soccer do with the Champions League kind of style. But I don't want to give too much away. That's coming up on Wednesday's podcast. But that's going to do it for me. Enjoy your guys' Monday. Have a great week. I'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Thank you for listening. Much love. Peace.